Hey there, tradie. How much margin should you make? They're important, right? And if this feels like I'm using a whole video to make one tiny little point, I'm not even sorry, right? As a business coach for tradies and for builders, the number one problem I see people frustrated by is having shitty, skinny margins and the effects that has on their entire business. Margin, of course, as you know, and if you don't, I'm telling you, right, is the difference between what you get paid for a job and what it costs your business to do that job. Okay? It should be expressed as a percentage of the revenue of what you got paid for the job. Okay? So what it costs your business to do a job, of course, is made up of labour, your skilled tradespeople and any other workers, labourers, apprentices, project managers if you have them, right? Also your materials and also any subcontractors you used. So if you invoiced, say, $10,000 for a job and the labour cost you $5 and the materials were $2 and that was it, there was no skip hire or subbies, no scissor lifts or anything like that, then your cost was $7,000, your gross profit is $3,000, which is 30% of the $10,000. And don't confuse margin and markup. I made another video about that. Don't confuse the two. We'll talk about margin. Markup should be ignored forever. Okay? If you then go and measure your revenue and your labour and your materials across a whole month, you can see your gross profit and your gross margin for the month. Right? The gross profit is the dollar value of the gross profit, the difference between labour and materials and subcontractors, and your revenue for the month, and the gross margin is that number expressed as a percentage of your revenue, right? And that gross profit is what has to pay for everything else, your vehicles, your office staff, your wages, your business coach, very important, the rent, insurance, etc. Right? And there needs to be some left over for bad debts, bad weather, bad mistakes, bad decisions, bad customers, all the things that can go wrong on a job or in business. And there are lots, aren't there? And then there should be some left over for profit. So the answer to the question of how much margin should you be making is enough to cover your overheads and some risk allowance and some profit. Right? And you can fuck about trying to measure your overheads as a percentage of revenue if you like, but I'm not sure it's really helpful. Your overheads will change as a percentage of your revenue as you make investments for growth and, of course, as your revenue grows. So here's my guide though, right? This is a really good rule of thumb. For all trades businesses, your net margin should be 10% of revenue, right? So the net profit amount, say, should be 10% of the total revenue of the business, right? After everybody gets a fair wage, including you. So if your revenue is $2 million, you should get a fair salary and $200,000 net profit. And that's 10% of the 2 million, right? So your net margin is 10%. To get a 10% net margin, your gross margin needs to be bigger than that, doesn't it? Right? So my view of a good target margin, gross margin, is this. For builders, 20 to 30% gross margin. For other trades, 30 to 40% gross margin. Now, margin for builders can be less than for other trades because the revenues are higher for a similar kind of infrastructure. Okay? So where's yours, is my question. How's your margin? Do you know your gross margin and your net margin? Do you have systems to measure it? Do you know what goes in your quotes? Do you have systems to measure what comes out at the end of the day in the wash? Right? Are you measuring it properly? And my final question, of course, what are you going to do about it? If you don't know, or if it's not 20 to 30, if it's not in your target range, you should do something. Right? Are you going to get some business coaching? Book a 10-minute chat to talk to me if you think that might be for you. If that's too scary, why don't you check out our Control Your Numbers webinar? That's free, not very scary at all. See you later.